Welcome. I'm so glad you can make it to our open house tonight. I am Miss Stein, and I am so excited for this year's second grade to begin. I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about math and what our math classroom is going to look like. Some of the primary math skills we're going to be focusing on in second grade include adding and subtracting within 20, building a foundation for multiplication, time, money, measurement, place value, and working in shapes to help us understand fractions. My overall approach to teaching math is set up in a format called Math Workshop. This allows me to work with small groups of students who have similar abilities. Not all students learn the same way or at the same speed, so by giving small group lessons, I can focus on the needs of each group rather than the group as a whole. The students are also not sitting at their desks the entire math time. They get to get up and move about every 15 minutes. I plan on integrating an online adaptive learning program into my math curriculum because it's a great way to individualize math for each student. It gives the students instant feedback, increases their instructional time, and it even gives the parents and the teachers data on how the students are doing. I'm going to use this program as an aid for my classroom, and I'm going to use a program called ScoopPad. ScoopPad is pretty cool, and parents can log in at home and see the students' progress and what they've been working on. This chart shows a typical math lesson during the math workshop. We'd begin with a math warm-up question, then move on to a 10 to 15 minute whole group mini lesson. From there, we'd break into our small group math rotations, which is 3 15-minute rotations. One group would meet with the teacher and work on guided math. A second group would work individually on something like their ScoopPad, and then the third group is usually hands-on, and they'll play dice game or work on counting money. Then at the end of that, we will wrap up and reflect about what we learned as a whole group. Here are a few math routines that we are going to do in our classroom. We're going to do math talk, where students talk about different strategies they use to solve certain problems. We'll have small groups or centers during our work time. We're going to practice problem solving and figuring out how to solve problems that may be particularly hard. And math calendar, which we will do during morning meeting, where we'll have a number of the day and we'll do different things such as count money for that number, find patterns, add and subtract to that number, etc. There are a few different bulletin boards I would reference for math. Here's an example of what one would look like for our morning meeting, when we'd work with our number of the day, which would be 12. We'd subtract, add and subtract, we'd deal with money, we'd add tallies, we'd find it on the hundreds chart, we'd break it down into place value. A second bulletin board would be math talk. This is good for students to reference for asking their partners questions and knowing how to respond. It highlights the words of the week that they're learning and gives some goals. A final one would be the math wall, and this would have the overall words that we have learned in math with pictures and words to help describe the definition. Math talk is going to be a big part of second grade math. It is important for students to explain their answers because it helps them think and verbally explain how they solve the problem. This helps the student explaining understand math at a deeper level. It also helps the students listening hear another way to solve the problem, and then from there they can decide which strategy is more efficient to solve the problem. This helps them understand math at a deeper level as well. For example, a place value example, 76 minus 48. When the students solve this problem, we want them to understand that the 7 on the 76 represents 70, not just a 7 minus 4. In second grade math, we're going to use manipulatives through many things: guided reading, math centers. Manipulatives are good to help students understand place value and aids them in helping them solve the problem through a hands-on approach. The students can physically manipulate the base 10 blocks, for example, to do an addition or a subtraction problem. We will also use manipulatives during centers for math games. Examples of some manipulatives we may use are base 10 blocks, interlocking cubes, pattern blocks, play money, hundreds chart, dice, playing cards, rulers, calculators, and maybe even dominoes. I will assess my students using both formal and informal assessments. I will use observations from the math workshop during guided reading and centers. Another way is to check their math journals, which is where they'll show all their work from each center. And I will place center check sheets at certain centers periodically to assess what they have learned from that center. Another great way to assess students is using ScoopPad. In ScoopPad, I can add an assessment for the entire class or for specific kids to assess what they have learned. Of course, we're going to use technology in our second grade classroom. We're going to use iPads, Promethean boards, and laptops. We will use iPads during centers to work on specific skills through apps, probably about once a week. Example of an app could be Motion Math Pizza. This is an app where you have to create your own pizzas and then take customers' orders and do math with quick facts. So they have to recall quick facts. It's real world, can be very competitive, and it's all around a fun game. Another way that we're going to use the iPads in the classroom is to take pictures or videos about what they've learned in different subjects as well as math and post it up to Seesaw for the teacher and the parents to see. Seesaw is a place for students to take pictures or videos and upload them under their name to the class, and it's an online portfolio, and as soon as the teacher approves what the student has uploaded, the parent will get a notification about their specific student. The Promethean board is an interactive whiteboard for students to come up and use pens to click and drag and draw things. This can be used in a variety of different ways during our class, either for a mini lesson or to show kids math video. Students can come up and solve math problems and show the group. During center time, when the students are at the independent center, the students will use the laptop to work on their ScoopPad. How am I going to communicate with you? I've decided on a few ways. I'm going to use an app called Seesaw to help communicate with what your students are doing in the classroom by sending you pictures and videos through this app. I will also have a classroom website where you can check for important dates and reminders. It will also be a good resource to practice math skills at home. Before you leave today, I would like you to fill out a communication survey. It asks questions such as, do you have internet access, do you have a smartphone with data, and the best way to contact you with important information. This will help me decide the best way to communicate with everyone. I have wrote the URL for the link to the class website on the whiteboard. You can also scan the QR code on the wall by the door to pull up the website. Again, on the class website, you can find resources and videos of math strategies that we have learned and games to play at home. As I wrap up talking about our math classroom, are there any questions that you still have? What a good question. Do they get to use calculators? Depending on the activity, the students will get to use calculators, but most of the time they will not, because I want them to practice understanding where they're getting their numbers. And for them to use a calculator, they have to understand where their numbers are coming from, otherwise they aren't learning anything. Another good question. Why do they have to spend time explaining how they did the problems? Well, it's important for students to understand their problems because then they can explain how they had solved it, and it helps them think about math on a deeper level while they explain the problem. And then for those students that are listening to the student explain the problem, they get to think about how they solved it differently and which way was more efficient, and they do some deeper math thinking. I would like to thank everyone for coming. Feel free to stick around and check out the classroom and scan other QR codes around the room to learn more about what we will be doing in second grade this year. I am so excited for this year to begin, and I'm glad to have it started out by meeting all of you.